I had an awesome time at Anime Boston 2025 this year, but I still have a couple gripes with the convention. Let's talk about it. Hey y'all, what's up? I'm Jan. Welcome back to the Anicon Network channel. Back in May, I attended Anime Boston 2025. That was May 23rd to the 25th at the Heinz Convention Center and Sheraton Boston Hotel in Boston, Massachusetts. And there is definitely a lot to enjoy in this convention. I'm first going to go over some of my experiences in the convention, and then we're going to talk about the fine details of how the convention was run. The main reason I attended Anime Boston this year was that Rial announced that she was going to have a concert at Anime Boston, and I could not miss that opportunity. She performed at SakuraCon, but I wasn't going to travel to the complete other side of the country just to see a concert. So it being fairly close, drivable, that's an awesome opportunity, as well as Blue and Count as well. You can see these big banners. I'll talk about them shortly. And they also had a concert. Actually, their concert was the same concert. It was Blue and Count than Rio. For those who don't know, one of the important features that I look for in a convention is concerts and music. I am big on music, and so there being free concerts, so nothing additional past you having a badge to the convention, is a huge plus for me, and so that was my main intent. I have had issues with MA Boston in previous years, and that's why I haven't attended like the last year. My main issue with it is value and crowding, so coming back and seeing some of it sort of improved was definitely a plus for me. Anime Boston, I would consider my books to be a medium-sized convention, so they actually have a healthy number of artists and exhibitors, and so going around the exhibit hall and going around the artist alley, I think the selection of exhibitors and selection of artists is pretty well balanced, so no complaints there considering the size of the convention. And they also have quite a wide variety of other features, including the arcade and a selection of panels. One of the big panels that I attended for this year was the Hololive Karaoke, so that was fun. You could probably check out our Instagram page for the lines for those panels that were pretty long. Another plus for me is if you bought merch for Real or for Blue and Count, you had a raffle ticket and had a chance of getting one of the banners behind me, and lucky me, for some reason I managed to win both of them. Big shout out to my friend Matt, because I was at the Hololive panel when they were doing the actual raffle, so he picked it up for me. So those are behind me. Pretty awesome. They're both signed, so Real signature is up here, and for Blue and Count, all their signatures are down here, so that was awesome. I have been a fan of Real's music for just about 10 years now, and I've also been a recent fan for Blue and Count, so seeing them live in concert, being able to get a picture with Blue and Count, because you get a picture if you buy a certain number or a certain amount of merch, and winning both the banners signed was absolutely awesome. Also, we saw Real in an elevator on our way to our room in the hotel, so that was kind of awesome as well. That was on like day 0, the day before the convention. That was wild. A big highlight for my convention experience as well. I have my notepad here, a couple metrics on the convention itself. The way my scale sort of works is your super expo large conventions are anything with 80k plus attendees. Large conventions are 40 to 80k. Medium size is 20 to 40k. So this puts them in the medium size category, along with conventions like Anime Week in Atlanta, which has about 30 something k attendees. Anime Boston, they haven't really given the attendance numbers in the last couple of years, but from what we recall in 2022, it was about 29, almost 30k attendees. We're expecting that number to just be plus or minus that amount, considering they haven't announced it. And the convention center also has a capacity limit, so I'm gonna say they're probably still around that 30k number. Again, they haven't announced exact numbers, but I'm gonna guess they're still around there. Like I mentioned before, the artist alley and the exhibitor hall, I would say, are pretty well balanced. There are 200 plus artists that were, in the listing, probably closer to around 260 if you include some of the promotionals, some of the comic book artists, and anything else that was in the artist alley. For exhibitors, they had over 250 tables, but some exhibitors take up more than one space, so I would say 200 plus exhibitors. I would say the marketplace is pretty well taken care of. You have basically figures, media, whatever you're looking for, you'll probably find it at this convention. So that's pretty good for a medium-sized con. So good on them. Again, considering that Anime Boston is a medium-sized convention, their guest list was fairly strong. When we're talking about international guests, we had here Katsuki Hara, Kana Ichinose, and Yuriko Yamaguchi. And then we had, of course, our two musical guests, Blue and Count and Rial. And on Sunday, they also had Magnificent Danger, which I've mentioned before. Huge fan from the AniCon crew, so it was great to see them live. I did upload on this channel their entire set. The first half was probably way better than the second half because one, my arms are getting tired, and two, with everyone dancing, it's really hard to, get a good camera angle. But still love the performance, and I highly recommend. If you have a chance to see them, then go see them, especially if you're in that Boston area. I guess I should probably reiterate that they are a 3-day convention, so it was held from a Friday to a Sunday. They do have registration hours on the Thursday before, so you can pick up your badge if you have a hotel for the entire weekend plus the Thursday. Then you can pick up your badge in advance, and then you're good to go for the following day. All right, I'm now going to talk a bit about some of my gripes with the convention. First gripe, and I'm going to keep complaining this every year until they fix it. I don't know why we're still using paper badges with plastic badge holders. Considering I can go to student-run conventions like Castle Point Anime Con, or even smaller conventions like NakaCon in Kansas, where they give you at least a cardboard badge cut out the ear. This is a plastic badge. For how much we're paying, why is this still paper? One of the other issues I had was they do ship badges now, which is great, but I did pick up my badge the Thursday night before the convention, and they ran out of plastic holders, which is kind of crazy because you should know how many attendees you have. So they didn't have plastic holders. They hole punched the top of my badge, which someone could easily just rip your badge off, or if it's raining, it is very easy for paper to get wet and rip, or if you're eating or something and it gets wet. I don't like this. I don't like it at all. Anime Boston, please fix this. Do something else because this is not working. I'm gonna keep complaining about it until you eventually fix it. And speaking of being cheap, this goes into my biggest gripe about Anime Boston. Compared to other conventions and what I would say the northern east coast of the country, it is very expensive compared to those other conventions. Considering in my books, Anime Boston is a medium-sized convention, and you have larger conventions like Anime NYC and Otakon that have cheaper, at least single-day badge pricing, and even full weekend badge pricing. I'm a bit concerned about the value that Anime Boston brings. Again, Anime Boston has some great features where they are not charging for the concerts, they're not charging for things like the HoloLive karaoke panel, which was a big panel and line was all over the place. You can check out this reel. So I get it with, they don't want to charge for extra components of the convention, but if I'm traveling to a convention, there better be something that I want to see. For comparison, when I paid for my badge for Anime Boston, I believe it's $110 if you buy it in advance, $125 at the door. For Otakon, when I bought my badge, and this might have been early bird pricing, but it's still much cheaper than what Anime Boston is asking for. I paid $85 for my 3-day pass for Otakon. So considering that Otakon is about 80% bigger than Anime Boston, I find the value proposition for Anime Boston a bit low unless there is something in particular in Anime Boston that you are looking for. I also have a problem with the value proposition on a sort of per day pricing. Now comparing Anime Boston to Anime NYC, remember Anime NYC powered by Crunchyroll, you have some of the bigger exhibitors like Aniplex and HoloLive. Let's see, Anime Boston, the Friday badge pricing is $85, Saturday is $95, Sunday is $80. Considering for Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Anime NYC, the per day pricing was about $83.85. So it's cheaper to go to Anime NYC. Why? And also considering that Sunday is more of a half day, if I looked at the Sunday pricing compared to if I wanted the cheapest day to go to. The cheapest day for Anime Boston was Sunday at $80. If I wanted to go to Anime NYC and just wanted to go to exhibitors and Artist Alley, $55.53, and that's what I did this year for Anime NYC. So for Anime Boston, at least for me, I attended Anime Boston this year because we had 3 concerts that I wanted to attend. Actually, technically 4 if I wanted to include the HoloLive karaoke. So I already had my money's worth because of that. But if you weren't looking for any of those features and you were just looking for a convention to hang out on, I would have honestly just waited for Anime NYC. It's only a couple months later down the road. I would save up for, there are other conventions if you're like in the New Jersey, New York area, and you were willing to travel west or south instead of traveling north. I think there are definitely conventions that have better value propositions, unless, again, if you were looking for a particular feature at Anime Boston. Yeah, it's a tough sell for me. And also, I feel like they're just getting cheaper and cheaper through the years. So again, we still haven't migrated off of paper badges. So Anime Boston still has themes, like yearly themes for their convention, but they are no longer buying sort of decorations or anything to decorate the convention center with the themes. They're sort of going generic, and that's apparently to save money. I think they announced it a couple years back, so things have gotten pretty generic. I feel like they're just getting cheaper. They're definitely giving us something because they're able to announce big guests, but considering how much they're charging and some of the compromises we're seeing, so I'm definitely concerned about the value proposition at Anime Boston. Another issue I sort of have with Anime Boston is its inconsistent timing. Now, we sort of know the dates in advance, but I usually like to say, hey, July is my Anime Expo month, and August I'll head to Otakon and Anime NYC. October is New York Comic Con. April, May, I'll usually throw in Castle Point since it's fairly close to me. I could drive to it. But Boston this year was in May. A couple of years ago it was also in May. Next year it's in April. 1 year it was in March. It's in the spring, but it bounces all over the place and it's kind of weird to plan for. So sometimes I'll say, hey, I want to go to Anime Boston as long as it doesn't conflict with another convention, but it tends to conflict with other conventions. So what do? I don't know. All right, that's enough ragging on Anime Boston. If money is not a concern for you and your friends, if you're attending with friends, it is definitely a great convention to attend. Like I mentioned, a great guest selection for a medium-sized con. The artist alley and exhibitor halls are fairly well balanced. There is a great selection of people there. You also have great musical features for the convention, considering you also don't have to pay any extra for it, except you need to just be mindful of getting in line early enough to get good seats, and sometimes if they do fill up, then I guess you're out of luck there. The area of Boston that it's in the Back Bay area of Boston. It is pretty pricey there, so you could find some cheap eats if you just had to walk around, but if you're staying basically around the perimeter of the convention center, it does get pretty expensive for food, so just keep that in mind, but still a fun place to be. And yeah, so again, it's a great convention. I had a fun time this year. Will I be back next year? For me, it depends on who they announce and what other features I'm looking forward to. If they don't announce anything, it seems to be a very expensive convention for the price. So we'll see what happens next year. Anywho, those are my thoughts for Anime Boston 2025 this year. Let's continue the discussion. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you have any questions, or how did you feel if you attended Anime Boston this year? Let me know. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you are interested in more anime convention content here on the AniCon Network. See y'all later.